How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Hip Drop Podcast. Freudian slip there almost. Lucas and I are doing something a little bit out of the box. We're doing a Saturday episode due to the first two games of the NFL season on Thursday and Friday. The Philadelphia Eagles defeat the Dallas Cowboys 24-20, and the Kansas City Chiefs, which we'll touch on very quickly here, suffered a shocking loss to the Los Angeles Chargers 27-21 down in Sao Paulo, Brazil. The game streamed on YouTube. And Lucas, as people who may have watched the show figured we'll touch on this first, let's just not waste any time. Like the Chiefs, I don't even know where to start. They just laid an absolute egg halfway across the world last night. I fully expected them to win that game. Even like when they were down 13-6 at the half, I thought that fire drill field goal by Butker was a bit of a momentum changer. Then they get the 3-and-out to start the second half. They go down and score. Mahomes carries them down the field, rushes in, dives for the pylon, and of course Butker shanks the extra point. And they never really got any momentum back. But like, I'll just let you have it. Like, that was an absolutely atrocious performance on every front. The offense was lifeless in the first half. They played much better in the second half, to their credit. The defense was really bad pretty much the entire game. They got two real stops the entire game. It was just an awful performance. And look, I think the cope is, it's week one, it's a long season, blah, 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 blah. I think there's legitimate concerns that can come out of this game if you're a Chiefs fan. Because to me, this is not like a week one fluke. This looked like a team that frankly just isn't that talented, which I don't know if that's actually the case, but it sure looked like that in this game. And you got to wonder, like, the history of teams that lose the Super Bowl the next season is not great. The Niners last year go 6-11. The Eagles in 2023 start 10-1 and then completely implode. We all know what happened at the end of that year. Even the Chiefs, when they lost the Super Bowl in 2020, they started 3-4 the following year. Now they got it together, but they were a disaster the first 2 months of that season. So, Lucas, I'll just let you have it. What is your main takeaway from this game? Because I think you and I are gonna unleash on the Chiefs pretty aggressively here.
My main takeaway is they have a lot of problems. And I was saying before the game that I wasn't really going to take away a ton just because there were so many like wild cards and unknowns coming into a Brazil game. But some of my concerns were validated. Some of them were not validated in the sense that there were concerns that I wasn't expecting. I kind of knew before the season this wasn't a very deep roster in the sense that they have a lot of good players, but their talent is spread out, which is a good thing in some sense because they got pretty much a good player at every position. But that's the problem. They have like one good player at every position. So they're not exactly deep at corner. They don't have a good safety. Their defensive line is pretty much a one-man show at this point. Their offensive line has like two good players out of five that are established. That's just to kind of give my thoughts on the game. I think losing Worthy, that matters. That might be a cope to an extent, but that was the first passing play of the game, and they lost the number one wide receiver. It clearly, you could tell it took them a little while to get the offense going, but I don't know if it was more the offense more than this. Mahomes was like, okay, no, I'm not going to go down like this again. But just to kind of go one at a time, the passing game did not look good for the majority of that game. A lot of it, I will say, was the Worthy injury, but at the same time, it just looked clunky. The pass protection was hit or miss. Jawan Taylor and Josh Simmons couldn't stop taking penalties. It didn't seem that the play calling was odd at times, but I will say, and Hollywood Brown, I got to say, Hollywood Brown had a very, very unfortunate first half. That was a brutal scene. He had a terrible drop on third down. Just seemed like he was off, but then the second half he turned it on. Offensively, I think they're going to be fine long term, in the sense that assuming Worthy's injury does not end his season and he's able to come back at some point, whether that be in October, November, December, what have you, or maybe even next week. I doubt it's next week, but it's possible. I have faith in this offense. Rashee Rice will be back. Once they have Worthy, I think they'll have enough to have a really good passing attack. And with Mahomes, that's all you really need. My concerns are on the defense. Anyone who watched that game would be more scared of what the defense is going for than the offense, because we know we're going to get Rashee Rice. The Chiefs are going to get Rashee Rice back. I think they're going to get Worthy back at some point, so that gives you some comfort. I don't know what you're going to do to fix this defense. I mean, the unit didn't have Omar Norman Lott, who I think, had an ankle injury because they asked him to gain a bunch of weight for some reason. And so he wasn't used to playing at that weight, and it caused him to injure himself. That defense did not look good yesterday. And it's not like the Chargers were playing that elite. And here's a terrifying thing. The Chiefs' run defense actually did a pretty good job yesterday. It wasn't perfect. Yeah. And when I mean run game and run defense, I mean like to the running backs. Like Omari and Hampton had like under 4 yards of carry. It's not like they got lit up for like 6 yards of carry and like, oh, it's like 100. They got like 125 yards on the ground. They really didn't do much. But the passing attack was just leaking oil. The passing defense was just leaking oil constantly. Quentin Johnston turned into prime Randy Moss, I guess. It was just insane how physical receivers like that tend to go off against this team. It's bizarre. They were making weird decisions with the personnel. They kept McDuffie on the outside for a lot of the game, but Shamari Connor in the slot. That was not a good decision. They kept playing these weird soft zones, and it felt like in crunch time, anytime Justin Herbert needed to play, he would just throw it 4 yards past the line of scrimmage, and they would always get it. It felt like they could not get the underneath plays covered, and they were just slow. Like I don't know what to tell you. That defense does not have a lot of speed. Hopefully Jeffrey Bossa can get up to speed. No pun intended, but I'm much more concerned about that defense. We'll continue to talk about it, but offensively, I'm not going to panic. Defensively, there is some reason to be concerned.
All right, so I'll push back on it a little bit. I do think there's reason for concern for the offense because I think you can say like they played very well in the second half of that game. When you just look at how many points they scored, their ability to sustain drives. I believe they scored on every possession they had in the second half. They scored 2 touchdowns, and then they had that field goal at the end of the game. Thanks to that superhuman play by Mahomes on 4th down, where he just launched it down the field to Hollywood. But like when you really go back and watch the game, most of their offense was just Mahomes just carrying them, whether it's scrambles or that insane flip pass to Juju for the first down, or that, of course, the aforementioned ridiculous play to Hollywood Brown. Like it wasn't when you watch the Chargers on offense and you watch the Chiefs on offense, like the Chargers, it looked easy. They were dropping back, getting big plays to Keenan Allen, to Quentin Johnson. Like Ladd McConkey wasn't even the guy that killed them the most. It was those two guys. Keenan Allen was on his couch like less than a month ago. Whereas the Chiefs, it was like, all right, Patrick, just go carry us. Like pretty much the same approach the last 2 years. And I understand, look, you're without your top 2 receivers. It looks different with those guys in there. And I honestly thought like the pass protection was pretty decent. I thought Josh Simmons played pretty well. Just watching the game live, the penalties were insane. Jalen Moore needs to be the starter at right tackle against Philadelphia next week. The Jawan Taylor thing needs to end. It's going to be over after the year. I don't care how much he's being paid. He can't play if he's going to commit 4 freaking penalties. But so with that said, I am less concerned about the offense because I do think they will get better as the season progresses. But defensively, like there's just no positives you can take away. Like they couldn't generate a pass rush against an offensive line that, let's be honest, outside of Joe Alt and like maybe Mekhi Becton, not a great unit. I mean, it's certainly not the Eagles' offensive line who they'll be playing next Sunday. Like they couldn't do anything. Chris Jones was getting double teamed all night. Karlaftis did not play well. But the thing that was jarring, and I saw a lot of praise for Justin Herbert last night, and deservedly so. He played really well. But like, if you go back and watch, like these guys are wide open. Like, how many Chargers receivers did you watch last night that were just screaming wide open down the field? Whether it was Allen, whether it was McConkey, whether it was Conklin, the tight end, it was jarring to me. Like there were so many plays where a Chiefs defender wasn't within 10 yards of the Chargers receiver catching the ball. And like, look, our group that we in kind of crashed out a little bit after the game, myself included. But I do think there's some things with this team that I thought that embarrassment in the Super Bowl would have woken them up a little bit. This game doesn't really reaffirm that belief, in my opinion, where the offense was the approach was basically, well, we have Patrick Mahomes. Let's go. He's just going to carry us to victory. And maybe like, look, it's not their fault that Rashee Rice is suspended. It's not their fault that Xavier Worthy got hurt. With that said, I feel like the way they operate, where we talked about like their fetish for bringing back these guys who aren't any good, like Derek Nottie. What did he do last night? Like, you know what I mean? Like the system guys, and giving out contracts to players, these huge contracts to guys who like do we really think they need them? Like, did they need to pay Nick Bolton that much? We talked about it after the Super Bowl. Like, I would have paid Justin Reed over Nick Bolton. I'm not acting like Justin Reed's Ed Reed, but like he would have maybe helped a little bit last night. Whereas Nick Bolton, look, he's good at what he's good at. He's a good run defender. He's a good blitzer. He can't cover anybody. He's not fast enough. But they had to pay him because Steve Spagnuolo wanted him. And I just feel like, are they playing their best players? Like, did Christian Fulton play at all defensively? That was like one of the more underrated defensive free agent signings. And they're trotting Shamari Connor out there. And Connor is a fine safety, but why is he playing in the slot against Lad McConkey? Like, why? I just don't understand like their personnel usage, where like why is Mike Dana playing so much over Ashton Gelati? I'm not saying Ashton Gelat's Reggie White, but we just know what Mike Dana is. He's a Jag. Like, he's fine. I just don't know. I feel like I think they're gonna lose next week. I think they're gonna be 0-2. And luckily they have the Giants coming up. Like, maybe that's a get right game. We'll see. But look, I'm not gonna overreact too much, but like I when they lost Lions in 2023, I wasn't panicking because they had no Kelsey in that game. They had no Chris Jones in that game. And that Lions team, if we remember, should have been in the Super Bowl that year. That Lions team was a lot better than this Chargers team, which I still don't think is that good. Like, I don't think that's that good of a football team they lost to last night. I just think it was more about the Chiefs playing like absolute garbage. The play calling by Andy, I thought, was questionable at times, especially in the red zone. Like, why are you trying to run a little trick, not a trick play, but like a little fun play to Hollywood? Just call real plays, dude, on that sequence at the end of the first half where they got the field goal. I mean, you have Butker missing an extra point. Like, you can make that a 59-yard fire drill kick. You can't make a PAT. Like, I left to use the bathroom when that happened because I was so confident he'd make it, and he freaking shanked it. I feel like that was kind of like what did them in because it changed their approach moving forward. Like, if he made that kick, I'm not saying they would have won, but I think it would have been more feasible that they win. But defensively, I mean, 3rd and 14, which is against an offense that, let's be honest, has a really good quarterback and one really good receiver. And you let Justin Herbert like just run untouched down the field. Chris Jones loses contain. Drew Tranquil got in his face a little bit about it. You can't get off the field. Like, I honestly think if they got that stop, I think the Chiefs would have won. I think Mahomes would have taken them down and they would have scored. They would have won the game and pulled it out of their ass. It just wasn't meant to be. And when you look at this team, I'm ranting a little bit here. I'm going a little bit long. I'm sorry. Like, I just feel like the last 2 years, 2023, them winning the Super Bowl is a miracle. Like, defensively, they were awesome. Offensively, they sucked. Their approach on offense in that offseason was a disaster. Like, all right, Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore will be real contributors on this team. That didn't happen. And they basically had to pull teeth to actually gain yards. Last year, we all thought it was going to be different, and it was more the same. The difference is they won more games in the regular season they won some really stupid games last year. The Raiders game, honestly, both the second Chargers game, they won some games they had no business winning last year. I don't know, man. I'm not confident right now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel I mean, offensively, the reason I'm kind of more optimistic is they're going to get guys back that did not play in that game significantly. And I think Josh Simmons will be better. I don't think Josh Simmons actually played. I don't think he played that well in the game. I thought he was all right. He wasn't like a net negative, but I didn't walk away from that game like thinking like, oh yeah, Josh Simmons is going to be like a real asset to this team. Not saying he won't be, but I don't think yesterday kind of I don't think it didn't inspire confidence. It didn't add to my confidence, if that makes sense. We'll talk about Juwan Taylor a little bit, but
oh yeah,
I'm giving him one more game. Like, I've been pretty patient with him because he's generally been a good blocker, and it was also before they didn't really have a real third tackle. So it's not like, okay, yeah, you might have to swallow an extra penalty or two, but like the guy behind him, either Wanye Morris or Lucas Niang or what have you, would have gotten Mahomes killed. And so we were able to like, okay, we'll accept a penalty. That's not the case. They paid Jalen Moore 2 years, $30 million. That is real money. And I understand they paid him at first to be the left tackle, and then they got lucky with Josh Simmons. They played Jalen Moore a decent bit at right tackle in training camp. So they clearly are flirting with the idea. I don't know how much longer the leash has to be. He committed 4 penalties, 2 holdings, 2 false starts, and it could have been more false starts. If it's a problem against Philadelphia and he gets like 3 penalties in the first half and they don't pull him at all, I it's time for some serious questions. Like, and someone in Kansas City who actually has access to the press conferences needs to start asking if he commits like another 3 or 4 penalties against the Eagles and they don't pull him. Like, because
Yeah, I know.
at what point? What? Because at that point, what is the line? What is possibly the line that Jawan Taylor has not crossed that he would need to cross over for him to get benched? Because it seems like every Chiefs fan who's not in the building seems like he has crossed the line. Haven't gotten there yet. I think Jalen Moore is going to be better, even if he's not quite as good of a blocker. If they cut down the penalties by like 80%, that almost makes up for it. It's less frustrating, and that did ruin a couple drives. But for the offense, they're going to get Rashee Rice back in Week 7. That's a fact. Xavier Worthy, I will be back at some point. I doubt that's a season-ending injury, but I'm not a doctor, so that's why I have more hope. We at least know there are reinforcements coming. If the defense was missing like 1 or 2 starters, that's one thing. Like you said, the Lions game comparison from 2 years ago. They didn't have Chris Jones in that game. They didn't have Travis Kelce. And that's when Kelce was still a bona fide elite tight end. So at least you could say, okay, fine. We're missing our second and third best player. And plus for the defense played awesome in that game. The Lions scored 21 points. Remember, 7 of it was off a pick 6. They scored 2 touchdowns. And their first touchdown was on the same drive where they converted a fake punt. So it really could have been like 7 points on like real drives. This game was just bizarre. Christian Fulton, he did play. He played 13 coverage snaps. That is it. Shamari Connor got 41 coverage snaps. Trent McDuffie got 41 coverage snaps, which means Connor was on the field for every passing play that Trent McDuffie was on. And they put him in the slot. I thought the entire point of signing Christian Fulton was to have him and Watson on the outside and put Trent McDuffie in the slot. What happened? Like, what am I know. Maybe if they would explain that we don't like where Christian Fulton's ankle was at. We didn't want to like have him on a questionable field playing a bunch of snaps. And if that was honestly the case, I can accept it. But if they honestly believe that their 3-corner combination, if you count Connor as a corner, if they thought that was the best possible combination for the secondary, I have serious questions to be nice. I'm going to go in on the pass rush a little bit. That defensive line is not good. I'm sorry.
No, it's not.
I got some flack because in my Arrowhead Attic writers chat, I was adamant that defensive tackle had more potential to ruin the season than the running back room, because at that point, people were like freaking out, like, oh, the Chiefs don't have a real running back. Isaiah Pacheco was fine. He's not even fine. That pass rush, if it's not good, could ruin the season in the sense that defense could go from like a top 5 to 10 unit to like bottom half. Because Chris Jones is 31. He didn't play very well yesterday, but he's still good enough. But like, he's 31. If he has a huge drop off this season, it's not exactly breaking news. George Karlaftis is good, but if he's up against a competent tackle, he's a guy. He's Greg Rousseau. He might be worse than Greg Rousseau, to be honest. That might be a hot take. But other than that, those 2 guys, Jones and Karlaftis, are at least good players. Who else matters on that defensive line? Like, nobody. Mike Dana is a run defender first. Ashton Gelati's a rookie. Charles Omenihu, I'm sorry, all due respect, I think he's washed. I think he's not the same guy he was for that 2023 season before he blew out his ACL. That defense, and Omar Norman Lott, maybe if he gets back to his comfortable weight, he'll be a different guy. I still have hope for him, but they asked him to gain weight, so this might just be a lost rookie year for him where they asked him to gain like 20 pounds, and he's just not comfortable playing at that weight. I just don't know what we're going to do, what the Chiefs are going to do, because if Chris Jones can manage, remember, it's one game. If Chris Jones can turn back into a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, I'm more comfortable, because that's a force multiplier, because then it'll force more double teams on him, and then it'll give more one-on-one matchups, which favors the other guys. But if it's clear he's not the same guy, he's not going to get as many double teams, and if that's going to screw over the rest of the depth chart, because other guys might face double teams, they will get less favorable looks. So this is a big problem. I think any objective Chiefs fan is going to be more concerned with the defense moving forward. But I say this all to say, as much complaining as we've done in the past 20 minutes, I still think this team is capable of winning the Super Bowl. Like, I was coping a little bit yesterday, but I'll say this. I don't think they deserve to be the favorite, Super Bowl favorite, even a top 2 favorite. I'm sorry.
No.
But I'm not going to sit here and overreact. They're 0-1. It's one game in a foreign country. I'm not going to pick them. Like, they're not my pick anymore, but I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, this team has no shot to win the Super Bowl, because that would be a lie. They're going to get their 2 top receivers back at some point. Steve Spagnuolo has enough talent on defense. This defense is more talented than 2018, top to bottom, and it's better coached. and that team got to the AFC Championship. So I think they're going to be in contention, but they're 0-1. Not only are they 0-1, they lost against a divisional opponent. And so now they're one game behind the Chargers without the tiebreaker. So it's more like 2 games. I still think they're contenders, but their margin for error got a lot smaller very fast.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say like they're not contenders anymore, but I did not pick them to go to the Super Bowl because like I think going to 4 Super Bowls in a row is just it's just so rare. I know the Bills did it in the early 90s. I picked the Bills. I had them in the AFC Championship game, so I still thought they were high-level contenders. But one more thing to harp on. I think there's somewhat, and I alluded to it in our chat yesterday. I think there's somewhat of an accountability issue with this team from the coaching staff. And look, I'm not going to say Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo are bums. Like they clearly are not. They clearly are well established in the league. They're 2 of the best ever at what they do. But I do think there's a little too long of a leash. And I made a joke yesterday, like when Jawan Taylor committed his 4th penalty, and I believe his 2nd of the drive, Travis Kelce got in his face a little bit, was yelling at him, and deservedly so. But I feel like he needed to do that because he knows a coach wouldn't. Andy seems like the type of guy who's going to pat him on the ass and say, "Attaboy," you know what I mean? I mean, that's maybe a little bit of hyperbole, but like, when have you ever seen Andy Reid like get into a guy for screwing up? And it's not so much that, it's playing guys too long. In 2023, it took them forever to realize, hey, maybe Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore are not good. Last year, I mean, I feel like they did good. They pulled the plug on Kingsley at left tackle. They were pretty diligent about that. 2021, another example, playing Ben Neiman and Dan Sorensen as long as they did. And I feel like we're seeing it on defense too. Like we're playing Tamari Connor over Christian Fulton. Like, why'd you bring Christian Fulton in? Why'd you sign him? Like what was the point of signing him? And like I said, if they're not healthy with his health, if they're not comfortable with his health, fine. We'll never know. Someone should ask him about that. But that's the thing. Like they give players too long of a leash, which leads to the continued mistakes. And I don't know. Like again, I'm not gonna say the season's over, but I think this team's got to fly back to the States and they got to take a long look in the mirror because in 8 days they're playing Philadelphia, who we'll get to here in a bit.
Yeah.
If they play like they did yesterday, it's gonna look a lot like it did in the Super Bowl, honestly. And obviously that did not go well. So just an absolute egg, and I don't know. I think we're gonna learn a lot about this team over the next 3 weeks or so.
Yep. Which was the Cowboys-Eagles season opener.
Yes, sir. You kind of cut out there a little bit, so I didn't quite catch that, but I heard the
Cowboys. I was just saying. Let's move on to that game.
All right. Yeah. So there was another game Thursday night. The season kicked off. The Eagles beat the Cowboys 24-20. The first 2 plays of the season was an Eagles linebacker tearing his knee up on the kickoff, and then Jalen Carter, their superstar defensive tackle, spitting at Dak Prescott. After Dak spit on the ground before him, Jalen Carter took that personally, got thrown out of the game. This was a pretty entertaining game. I don't think the Eagles played a great game, but ultimately all that matters is they won, and that's what matters at this point in the year. Offensively, they couldn't be stopped in the first half. Second half, Dallas's defense stepped up and slowed them down. Jalen Hurts made great plays with his legs. I thought played a good game. I know he didn't throw for a lot of yardage, but I thought he was very efficient. Threw a beautiful 9-ball to Jahan Dotson down the field. But I also thought the Cowboys gave a good representation. After a week after trading their best player, I kind of expected them to get blown out in this game, but they did not. Dak Prescott, the box score will not show it. I thought played really, really well. I think his CeeDee Lamb let him down with some drops. CeeDee Lamb had 4 passes hit him in the hands that he did not catch. The last one kind of a tough catch, but 3 you expect a player of CeeDee Lamb's caliber to come down with. They ran the ball effectively. Javonte Williams looked pretty good. I thought Brian Schottenheimer did a nice job in his coaching debut. Defensively, they have a talent issue, particularly in the front 7, but they buckled down in the second half. They stopped Philadelphia. But ultimately, I do think the better team won. I don't know. It was a good game. It was an entertaining game. I have a slightly higher opinion of the Cowboys now if Dak can play like that because, CeeDee's going to catch those passes most of the time. The Eagles' passing attack was pretty anemic. I mean, AJ Brown had 1 target for 8 yards. Devontae Smith barely did anything. It was mostly Dallas Goedert in the passing game on short drag routes. But I don't know. I expected the Eagles to win. They did. I thought it'd be more lopsided, and it was a good way to start the year.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Cowboys fan, you got to be both like highly encouraged and like sick in the
Yeah,
sense
I
that
know.
encouraged because that offense looks really good. It's not. I'm not gonna say it's one of the 3 best offenses in the sports, but like that passing attack moved the ball against a defense that we consider to be very good. But maybe that Philadelphia defense will take some time to get rolling. So we'll see because it's week 1. Like we need a larger sample size than 1 game to judge everything. But like Dak Prescott looked pretty good. I don't care that he threw for 188 yards. He played amazing in that game. And because I went back and I charted, PFF PFF said there were 4 drops in that game by the Cowboys, all of them by CeeDee Lamb, which that's insanity. And I charted the average depth of target on those 4 drops. It was 90 yards. So if CeeDee Lamb just caught all those passes and just went down immediately, Dak Prescott would have thrown for 90 more yards, in which he would have thrown for 278 yards, which is really good against a really good defense. And I thought like you said, Brian Schottenheimer called a good game, but that defense did not play well. It seems like the Eagles, it took them a while to move down the field, but they were just patient with the run. But like,
Yeah.
even though it took them a while to go down the field, for those first 3 drives in the first half, did you really honestly think Dallas could get a stop? Not really.
No.
It just felt like, okay,
No.
Eagles are going to score a touchdown. It's just a matter of who's able to punch it in. Is it Saquon or is it Jalen Hurts? And it was Jalen Hurts a couple times. I think Saquon got the 3rd one.
Yeah, Saquon had a touchdown. Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. But the Cowboys, that game was there. That game was there to be had. I mean, who was it? Miles Sanders had like a 49-yard run.
Oh yeah,
yeah. He was just a little bit faster. He would have scored on, but then like 3 plays later, he fumbled, and then immediately after that, the game went in a lightning delay for like an hour, and that just ruined the vibe of the game because I think there was only 1 field goal. No, I don't think there was a single point scored after the delay, if I'm not mistaken.
There was not. The Eagles got a field goal in the first drive of the second half, and then the Cowboys fumbled in the red zone, and then the lightning delay happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I thought that Cowboys defense really clamped up in the second half, but maybe that was just the offenses being super rusty after the break. But I'm discouraged by their defense in the sense that that talent is not very good. But I'm encouraged.
Yeah.
I'm encouraged by the fact that even though the Eagles O-line's a little bit injured, I thought that D-line played hard. And I think that
they
matters.
Did.
Like there are some teams, I think it would have been easy for them to quit or like look kind of checked out after losing Parsons. There were a lot of plays where they were finishing their tackles. Like once they had Saquon wrapped up at the line of scrimmage, they just like slammed him down. Like, no, you're not getting an extra yard. And I think that's encouraging to when I think that's a good sign for Matt Eberflus. They just need better players. And if Donovan Ezaraku could develop, if Marshawn Nealon can develop, that D-line could be not great, but it could be competent. But we'll talk about the Eagles. I did not walk away from that game encouraged by Philadelphia, but I still think they're capable of being the best team in football. Like,
oh yeah, that's the takeaway I had.
The fact that they won that game and their wide receivers did nothing. Devontae Smith, you may have said, had like 35 yards. He didn't do much at all. Like it may not have been 35, but I know for a fact
he had 13. He had 2 catches for 13 yards.
13. Okay, that was it.
Yeah.
Their top 2 receivers had 21 yards combined. That's not going to happen the rest of the season. That'll be the only game where that's the case, unless one or both are injured. But I didn't think that they couldn't pass the ball because Jalen Hurts was being bad. I just think they were just getting a lot of just running the football. But at the same time, if you do want me to be pessimistic, Jalen Hurts has a tendency to not like targeting the edges of the field unless it's on a go route or a fade. Like if it's between like 10 and 20 or 0 and 20 yards past the line of scrimmage, he's not going to throw outside the numbers. That could be a big problem when you face a defense that could counterattack that very well. I don't know if the Chiefs are going to be that team, but that kind of defense will give them a problem. That Eagles offensive line, I don't think they played that well in that game, which that might be fine because like Jordan Mailata got beat a couple times. Lane Johnson didn't have a good night. Like Landon Dickerson was hurt, so like I'm not going to sit here and like I'm not going to rag on him because he got hurt a little while back in like late July. He had like a foot injury or something.
Yeah.
But then he got in the game as well. So I'm not going to sit here and say he played bad, but he didn't play well. That Eagles offensive line wasn't overwhelming. I don't think that's going to be the case regularly, kind of like their passing attack. But if I'm an Eagles fan, that defense kind of gave me some worries. I mean, I know they didn't have Jalen Carter, and Jalen Carter's good, and I know they allowed 20 points, but they were not particularly impressive in that game. Like I said, the Cowboys lost out on 90 yards alone just because of a drop by CeeDee Lamb. And
Yeah.
Regis drop was not the last one where he kind of dug it on the forward stack, threw it a little too hard, but kind of had to given the coverage. It was that one, I think, earlier in that drive where it was a dime, like 40 yards down the field or 35
Oh my
yards down the
God,
field.
that throw is insane. Yeah.
And it's not like, and on that play, it's not like there was an Eagles defender that poked the ball out from behind. No, he just didn't haul it in. Like, dude, you just got to catch that ball. Like, and it wasn't a hard catch. He got paid. He gets paid a lot of money. You got to make that catch. Like, I'm not asking you. They weren't asking you to do like acrobatic stuff. You got to catch that ball. But the Eagles defense, I wasn't particularly impressed. I don't think that'll be the case the rest of the year. Vic Fangio will get them up and running, but I don't think their corners. I don't think their secondary played that well. Avonte Maddox Adoree Jackson, not Avonte Maddox.
Yeah.
Adoree Jackson. I doubt Adoree Jackson's going to be playing a lot because if Adoree Jackson is on the field for this Philly defense a lot, opposing passing attacks to be very happy.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if there's anything else you have to say about this game. If you want to talk about Jalen Carter a little bit, like just because the Eagles and the Chiefs play next week, so we could at least give it some thought.
Yeah, and again, like I don't think the defense. I thought they were a little better down the stretch, but like they got bailed out by some drops. I do think they did sign Zadarius Smith yesterday to kind of shore up that pass rush a little bit, to kind of more so replace Josh Sweat, who they lost in free agency. Their cornerback 2 spot's a little bit concerning. I think they're probably going to put Ja'Cory and Bennett in there over Adoree Jackson. He's probably the better player. Was quietly pretty good for the Raiders last year. But again, like the Eagles, like they won the game. Ultimately, that's what matters on September 4th. And the Cowboys, look, I feel a little bit better about them. Their next 2 games are against the Giants and the Bears. Like they could easily be 2-1. But you got to feel like, man, like we probably should have won that game. We just made costly mistakes, and it cost us in this one. Yeah, Jalen Carter. I mean, that was pretty ridiculous. I mean, I've never seen that happen in an NFL game. And like people trying to justify it are even worse, in my opinion. With that said, I think the fact that Dak spit first, he didn't spit at Carter, but like you can make the argument that like he was provoked in some capacity. And he did effectively get suspended for this game. Like he didn't play a snap in this football game. If I were to guess, I think he probably plays against the Chiefs next week. Which look, I mean, the Chiefs just got to deal with it, I guess. But yeah, I mean that's kind of my take on the situation. It was a pretty ugly way to start the year. He deserved to get ejected. But yeah, that was not good.
Yeah. I don't really care if Dak provoked him unless Dak said something like super offensive. I
doubt. I mean, that doesn't seem in Dak's character to do that.
Like I understand people who say, "Oh well, Dak spit first." Dak spit on the ground and away from Jalen Carter. It may have been his direction. I don't care. You spit on another man. Like if someone else did that to me and it went down pretty similarly, I'm not going to sit here and say I would find him, but like we would have problems. Like our relationship would be very different. I was very adamant. I think I said on Twitter, like if a Chiefs player did that, I don't care who it was Chris Jones or George Karlaftis or Omar Norman Lott, I'd be fine with a 1-2 game suspension. I'm not going to say, if it's less than 2 games, it's going to be a miscarriage of justice. But spitting on someone's really messed up, man. It's not only disgusting. It's just a blatant sign of disrespect. I think there's a decent chance he gets suspended, not because I think like spitting is like some sort of like sin, but the NFL might be like, right before he entered the NFL, he got in that crash. He was street racing with a couple friends.
Yeah, there's a reason he was available 9th. Yeah, like some teams took him off their board because of that.
Yeah. So I think the NFL couldn't suspend him because that was before he entered the NFL stratosphere. So the NFL didn't have like jurisdiction over his punishment. There might be an argument that the NFL might give him the higher end of the spectrum in terms of punishments as a makeup for, or just to kind of punish him for that previous incident. I don't really know what to think here. I don't know what the precedent is for spitting on players, nonetheless quarterbacks, but it wouldn't surprise me if the NFL decided to lay down the hammer because it happened on national TV. And we've seen that happen before where like Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico were outraged. You could argue rightly or they exaggerated a little bit, but I think the fact that happened on NBC in front of tens of millions of people, that might forced their hand, plus his previous history. I think if it happened on a random noon game and like not that many people saw it, I might be a little different. But given his history, given the national stage, I would guess he's going to miss one game because I think a lot of people are going to say, well, he effectively got suspended. Kind of. That's kind of how it works. He didn't play, but people got to remember it's money. Like he still got his full game check. Unless I'm unfamiliar with a player gets ejected, they don't get their game check. Like the Eagles won, and he still got his full game check. So it's the Eagles didn't really suffer at all. The NFL may be like NFL might find him a games check worth, and that might be the same difference, or they're going to suspend him because it's kind of like when people complain about starting pitchers only getting like, wait, the starting pitcher only got suspended 10 games. I think the former Royals pitcher who passed away a few years ago, the starting pitcher that started like a fight against the Orioles, he got suspended. I forgot what his name was. Start with a Y. Rest in peace. Got suspended like 15 games, but people were like, well, he only misses 3 games because he's a starting pitcher, but
Giordano Ventura was his name.
Giordano Ventura. Yep.
Yeah.
But starting pitchers get paid for every game, even if they don't play. And so you might be asked why that's relevant. I don't think the fact that he got ejected early in the game should affect anything because he still got paid. So either he should get fined amount up to a game check or he should be suspended because I don't think spitting on someone is acceptable at all because I don't think that's a precedent someone's set where because I think the NFL might need to lay down the hammer. It's not a good look to have players spitting on each other. So I think a 1-game suspension might be appropriate just to kind of discourage this behavior. Because like I understand it was early in the game, but like what's to stop someone from just doing it in the third quarter of a blowout? Like, I don't think the fact that happened in the third quarter should change anything. The punishment after the game should be the same because they're still getting paid for that game they get ejected in. The punishment should just be should not be connected to what happened in the game. If you get what I'm trying to say. But in the end, I'm going to say it's going to be 0 or 1 game. I'm going to say 1 game just because he does have a prior history before the NFL, and the NFL might try to overcompensate or punish him for previous sins. But I think if he was a perfectly clean player with no downside or no negative history whatsoever, I say he wouldn't get suspended, just a fine. I think Jalen Carter's going to get a game just because I think the NFL got embarrassed on national TV, plus his history, plus the fact that it's a disgusting act. That might be enough to get him 1 game.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree. Like, I think he should be suspended. It was up to me. I'd suspend him for at least a game, again, which obviously is against the Chiefs. And again, like, that's probably one of the most low-class things I've seen on an NFL field. And, like, the fact that it was the first play of the season is not a good look. The NFL's probably pretty embarrassed by that. Like, millions of people are watching this game. It's the first real football game since February, and that's how we start. I mean, they can't be happy about that. I wouldn't be surprised if he got 0, but I think he should probably get 1, if not 2. I doubt it's more than 1, but again, like disgusting, immature, selfish, any like hyperbole you want to come out with. And if the Eagles lost, it'd be an even worse look for Jalen Carter. Luckily for him, they pulled out the win, but again, you don't want to see that from one of the game's best players. Or any player, for that matter. All righty. Lucas, do you have any parting thoughts before we head out today?
I do not. I'm just glad that Chiefs game is over. On to week 2. It's a long season. It's 1 game. We're going to learn a lot about this team in week 2. If they come out flat and the Eagles hammer them again, now I think it's time to raise the alarm bells. But if they come out hard, even if they lose, if they're competitive and they just happen to lose on a last-second field goal, I'll feel differently, or if they win, but it's 1 game. It's week 1. It's 1 game sample size. The sample size is going to double at this time in 9 days. So I'm not going to panic, but I have a lot of questions. Any final thoughts for you?
Yeah. Again, reiterate 1 game. It's a weird game on a Friday, halfway across the world. Weird circumstances. I'm kind of good with this Friday night Brazil game thing. I'm good with it. I don't think they need to. I'm a traditionalist. I like the opener on Thursday. I like the Sunday slate and then the Monday night game. I don't know where this Friday Brazil game came from. I'd be fine if they discontinue it because last year Jordan Love damn near tore his knee, and then this year our team got embarrassed in that game. So I'm not a fan of it, but it is what it is. And we got the opening slate tomorrow. We already discussed that. We got the Monday night game between the Bears and the Vikings. And then Lucas and I will be back next week to recap week 1 and look ahead to week 2. Thank you, everybody. We will see you next week.